But first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite all of our panelists on the stage right now. So please put your hands together for the first the first panelist, Trang Phung, the CEO of BVNEX. Next, I would like to invite Ngeow Jiawen, the COO of Consentium. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Mr. Yuen Wong, the Director of Greater Bay Area of Bitmart Exchange. Next, I would like to invite John Sidoli from SINEGY. Thank you. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Jeremy Ju, the CEO of Unicoincdx. Last but not least, I would like to invite Mr. Kevin Koo, the co-founder of Futurus. All right, so let us begin with our last panel session discussion. Enjoy.
Testing. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let us give us some time to get seated. I'm sure this morning the keynote speakers have covered what's an STO, what's an IEO, what's the STO. Yuen Wong. No worries. Come, take a seat. Take a seat, I can stand, no worries. So I guess definitions and introductions are not needed at the moment. So we're going to move, this panel is more about our experiences, our challenges that we face along the way. So let me introduce myself again. My name is Jeremy Ju. I'm from Unicoincdx. We are an exchange, not launched yet. We are aiming for Q4 launch. So I'm going to go across the panelists and give them a little bit of time to introduce themselves. Why don't we start with you first?
Introduce myself, right? Yeah. So I actually had a speech just now. But I'll do it again. Yeah. I'm a managing partner of Bitmart. We are a USA exchange. Okay. We got the licenses in USA. But we are still a crypto exchange. Yeah. So our C team is in US. And then we have a tech team in Hangzhou. And then I'm in charge of the Hong Kong office. And then we have a Korea office. We are ranked top 20 on CoinMarketCap. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin. I'm a lawyer here based in Malaysia. I have my own firm. And at the same time, a couple of years ago, I started up a group called Lex Futurus. So we are a network of law firms focused in this space. That's basically it. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you, KL, for having us. I'm Jiawen, the CEO of Consentium. Before I joined Consentium, I was an entrepreneur, a retail entrepreneur. And from 2012 to 2017, I was completely in that space. We raised funds from VCs, exited a couple of businesses. 2017 came, I went into cryptocurrency and got involved in a couple of projects. And today I'm representing Consentium, which is a chat app that we did our ICO in 2018, early 2018. We did a relatively good raise. And today we have our app launched in both Android and Apple stores with 300,000 downloads. So I think I'll be talking a lot about fundraising and ICO and IEOs from the project perspective, like how does fundraising look and how, what the journey has been like so far. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is John Sidoli. I've been in Malaysia for about 2.5 years. For the past 18 months, I've been working for SINEGY Technologies, which is Malaysian, the only Malaysian conditionally approved crypto exchange. So we recently won conditional approval from SC to be a crypto exchange. We hope to go live by the year end. That depending on the SC and getting everything in order before that. So my role at SINEGY is mainly been handling the application because of my previous life. I was a macro analyst in the City of London for a large institutional equities broker. So I knew a bit about compliance, so I took on that role at SINEGY. And so yeah, that's me. I'll hopefully talk about the regulatory aspect as we have a STO framework coming before year end, hopefully from BNM and SC, and that's it.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Bloconomic, for having me here today. So, my name is Trang. I'm a co-founder and CEO of BVNEX.com. We are a digital asset trading platform based in Vietnam. So, about myself, I have like 3 years experience in blockchain industry. Before BVNEX, I worked for oldest trading platform in Vietnam. So within this 3 year experience in blockchains, myself, we haven't done any ICO or IEO yet, but I also have observed the other project also exchange raising their fund through ICO. So I hope that I can contribute some of my insight or also experience during this panel discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you, panelists. Before I start, can I have a raise of hands of who has participated in ICO or IEO before? Just not many, okay. How many of you guys have participated in scam ICOs or has actually lost money? I'm raising my hand too, you know. Okay, all right, you see. So this space is highly unregulated, to be very honest. There's a lot of bad actors in this in this space. Recently, Plus Token got banned in China. There's about 3 billion Bitcoins. Yesterday's news, 3 billion worth of Bitcoins, about 200,000 of them got dumped into a few exchanges. So keep a watch out. I'm going to start off with asking about I think there's 2 panelists here who have done their ICOs, Yuen, Wong and Jiawen. So what are the challenges that you have faced, the most prominent one that you remember, challenges that you faced during your ICO?
Bitmart raised our ICO during the 2017. To be honest, at that time, me and the Bitmart CEO, we are friends, yeah. So we started talking to each other even before the ICO idea. So it's a very interesting story, yeah. You hear it here first. So at that time, he was trying to do a DICE, a gambling ICO. But a few weeks later, he suddenly told me that he's going to do an exchange ICO. Yeah, I was like, hey, why the sudden change of idea? And then he told me that, hey, because he got a few friends in China that wants to do an exchange and told him that exchange is the best money-making blockchain project. So we got the idea changed. And then in the end, we raised 17 million at that time, and we actually cut short the ICO. At that time, we got one backer who is rather well-known in China, a few, yeah, 2 of them, yeah. One of them is, we call them Bao Ye in China, yeah. And then the other one is Zheng Ge in China, who is the early investor in Ethereum, yeah. So with these 2 guys, they are able to raise. We are able to raise a lot of private placement money, and we raised within a very short time. We closed our ICO round, so we don't have much issue raising at that time. But then that said, currently we see a lot of ICO projects having problem raising enough money. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so I think, being a project that did our ICO in 2018, a very exciting period for the space whereby, there's just so many projects trying to raise funds every day. The problem is really always making sure that the people that you're selling to and the people who invested in you know that you're not a scam and that you're serious about the work that you do. So, just to talk a bit about Consentium, I think we were one of the projects that were able to hit our hard cap of 42 million, which, in this day and age, I don't think many projects can do that. And if you really look at why, we were able to do that and how, instead of talking about challenges, I could say that instead of being challenging, it's actually a lot more simpler. So, when we were selling equity and fundraising, our investors were not always homogeneous, right? So you have an angel investor that wants to take dividend, and you have a certain VC that wants to exit, and another VC that says they want you to do another fundraising round. And all of these investors have very different sentiments, and they may all want very different things. But token holders and your token investors are a lot more homogeneous in the sense that they all care about one thing at the end of the day, which is that the token price rises and you give them the necessary liquidity. And this really allows the team to be very laser focused on making one select group of people happy. And really, as much as that's a challenge because the space has so many scams, like what Jeremy said, it's also very much an advantage that a project could exploit and completely understand to efficiently raise capital.
All right, I believe John, SINEGY did a small ICO last year as well. I think maybe you can share your insights on it.
Yeah, so we wanted to try out the IEO. So we did a very, very small raise, 600,000 ringgit, which was cut short because then the SC regulation came out, and we basically wrapped it up. It was I think technically the first IEO in Southeast Asia, and of course our platform had only been up 2 months, so low amount of users. It was really just an experiment, and we liked the IEO space. Obviously Binance has the is famous at the moment for its IEOs.
They have the first mover advantage.
Yeah, they've had several successful IEOs on the Binance Launchpad platform. We're looking at it differently. Obviously, we talked a bit about regulations, a bit about scams already. I'm sure hopefully everyone here by now knows that we do have 3 conditionally approved for a license exchanges that are SINEGY, Luno, and Tokenize, and so that is the in fact it was Bank Negara that came in with the regulations first. They brought all anybody related to crypto under the AMLA, which is the AML guidelines, and then they brought out the license framework. So what's coming next, we hope, is the STO framework. So that is due because we've had a consultation paper a few months back, and we've been told that the STO framework will be out by year end. Why is this important? Well, obviously, as an exchange, listing fees, IEOs, these sorts of things play into your long-term game plan. But we would like to see the security aspect. We're talking about STOs, not just IEOs for utility tokens where there's no ownership. When you're giving away some of your company to raise these funds, that kind of locks everyone's behaviors into better patterns. So we're looking forward to the framework and see where it leads us.
For everyone's information, the Malaysian regulations did state that all cryptocurrencies currently are classified as securities. So there's no differentiation between an ICO and an STO. But we are hoping we are hoping them to actually separate it between utility and securities for very obvious reasons. So we'll come back to STOs later. But first, we would like to ask everyone here as well. What do you think about raising money in ICO, SEO, IEO, or STO? Is it easier to raise money, or is it harder to raise money compared to more traditional ways? What do you think? Maybe Trang, yeah.
Okay, so for the new way of raising fund like ICO, IEO, and STO, I think it's easier for entrepreneur and for also startup like us to raising fund in compared to the older days of the raising fund. To answer this question, let's look back in the older day way. So as the entrepreneur, there's like 3 ways to raising funds. The first way is you can go to the bank and get the business loan by secure your home equity. The second way is you can ask your friends or family who love you and risk their own money into your project. But what if the project doesn't go well after? This can strain your friendship, or also like a Thanksgiving dinner will be much more tougher than it should be, right? And the third way can be like you raise funds from venture capital, but your project needs to have a like brilliant idea or really profitable if you want to have your foot into the meeting room. But what if after you get a fund from the VC, you also need to give up the majority ownership of your own project? So for ICO, IEO, or STO, we can see that it's no problem about. But it doesn't mean that for ICO and IEO or STO, we don't face the other problem. But somehow it's just like more convenient than the older way, I think.
Yep, John?
Definitely. So I think in Malaysia, we also have regulated equity crowdfunding platforms, right? So you have to differentiate between ICO, ECF, and then IPO. That's pretty much your scale, right? And obviously, it's in terms of like convenience. So ICO is the most easy to raise funds because for 2 reasons. One, if you can raise in Bitcoin and Ethereum, your universe of investors is every Bitcoin and Ethereum holder, which is global investment population. ECF, IPO, very much geographically anchored, right? So only in your country. Then ECF and IPO, the difference there becomes in the burden of regulation. So you have to submit. It's not a white paper. It's a. I've lost the word. It's a prospectus. Thank you. Which is much more. The ST is actually going to look at that, right?
Comprehensive. Much more comprehensive.
You have disclosures. You have all sorts of boxes to tick in order to be allowed to raise funds. So obviously, you can talk about ICO, IEO, STO democratizing fundraising. So it allows you to, and in Malaysia, there is definitely a VC funding gap relative to Singapore. We know the Grab story. They couldn't raise funds in Malaysia, so they went to Singapore. So this is because, and there's also a lot of brain drain, which is another factor you have to consider. So actually raising funds for SMEs and startups in Malaysia is quite difficult. And so there's definitely a niche in this country for fundraising via ICO or IEO.
So I think two panelists has talked about 2 different aspects. One is starting from scratch, seed and pre-seed level. John has been talking about raising public funds for expansion. ECF and IPO has usually been the vehicle to raise funds for expansion, all right? So let's start. Jiawen, you have anything to add on how easy or how harder it is to raise money?
Yeah, so I think for me, I would differentiate like the obligations tied to an STO and an ICO, obviously, and then later on talk about, and just look at what does it really mean when you're raising fund, as an IEO and really using basically what you're trying to do, or what you're doing, is using an authority that a lot of people trust, be it a top 10 coin market cap exchange and what's not, to stand behind you, lend you their badge, and say, look, these guys, they endorsed me, and I'm raising funds, and most likely you are going to be able to raise because of the credibility that's behind you. So the challenge would then be, what is the obligation tied to the capital that is being raised of this type of fundraising mechanism versus raising money, say, of a VC. So a VC's check essentially is a check that's given to you in order to survive in the next 2 years. And then if you do what you're supposed to do and your business grows, and then you can talk to them again and perhaps to do a follow-on round, or you'll be able to be sustainable on your own. An IEO round essentially is a form of fundraising, but I would say that the way that you deploy the capital, you need to be a lot more mindful to the kind of activity that you create immediately, because it then reflects on your token price. And the exchange is currently the central authority. So if you will take all the money out and you do nothing that's sensitive or mindful to how the price is being traded, then you probably will not get a single cent of what you raise.
That raised an important point, which we'll revisit later. Maybe we get thoughts from Kevin as well. Pass the mic. Yep, thanks.
I don't know where to start, but if you were here in the 2016, 2017 space, it was like cowboy town. Come into town with your white paper and your pitch, and then you're bound to raise some amount of funds, right? And that was great. So then after that, the regulators started coming in. So as you see the past few years, right, the ICO craze in 2017 and the price of Bitcoin reaching an all-time high, that really alarmed the regulators all over the world, all right? And that's when you saw the SEC coming in and saying that, look, the DAO, it would have been a security, right? And the Chinese authorities saying that ICO is illegal fundraising. So things like this started to alarm. Even today, there is a fight going on in India, right, where the RBI wants to ring fence the banking system away from crypto. So regulation is increasing in this space. And of course, I'm saying that I'm always mindful of the fact that just down south, we have a very crypto-friendly regulator, which, Consentium is based in that jurisdiction, so they really benefited from that. But in Malaysia, as in some other jurisdictions, right, there is a cautious approach. And right now, there's a moratorium for ICOs in Malaysia. So I want to touch on something else, right? When you talk about IEOs, these seem to be the trend today. And they become popular because they use the platforms provided by the exchanges. But then you're putting a lot of responsibility on the exchanges to vet through all these potential IEOs, these token launches on their platform. To be honest, this is not a new thing. When I started looking at this scene about, say, 2 years back, there was an outfit called ICO Box, based out of Russia. They had their own marketplace. They were selling tokens, no different from what the exchanges are doing today. All right? There was Kick ICO, a Kickstarter version for ICOs. So what's the difference? The difference today is that you have exchanges guaranteeing you, number one, we'll give you volume trading, we'll give you a ready set of users, we'll have people signing up for you because, why? Because you have our exchange token which can be used to pay for the transaction fees and all that. Sorry, am I running over my time?
Sorry.
So you're putting a lot of responsibility on these exchanges because they have to vet, are these guys a shitcoin or not? Right? Are they going to be the next Bitcoin? Most probably not. Are they a shitcoin? I don't know. All right? They have to have their own checklist. And how are they going to guarantee that the project is going to perform? Just a few weeks back ago, a regulator from the SEC, the US, she said that perhaps one of the most important parts that we need to put into regulation is there must be a time frame after the ICO that they launch their project, that they realize their goals. and it doesn't remain just an empty promise. All right, I think her name was Hester Pierce or something like that. Yeah. So that's my thoughts. I'll let the conversation carry on.
So, maybe you have something to share on as well. I mean, you guys did a lot of fundraising in China, and China has pretty much banned ICO since 2017-ish. Yeah, so maybe you can share.
I will just share some real-life examples on fundraising. Yeah. So I think fundraising is just about who you are and you know who. Okay. Because in the past, like we have the 3F, right? Friends, families, and fools. Okay. If I raise funds from, for example, my brother, I just give you a call. Hey, I need 50K. Okay. When can you return me? Okay, I said 3 months later, okay, then he will provide me the fund, yeah. So I think it's also important that who you know, okay. For example, there was once, I remember a few years back when I was raising fund for my e-commerce business. Because I know a friend from FA company that knows a rich tycoon in Hong Kong. So he said, let's go to Shenzhen one day and I'll introduce one Hong Kong tycoon to you since you're raising fund. So I went and we sat on the round table having dim sum. They talk about a lot of topics. And when it's my turn, and then the tycoon asked me, hey, what do you need from me? I said, Mr. XX, okay, I need some money for my business. He asked, how much? I said, 1 million. Hong Kong dollars, yeah? 1 million. He said, okay, tomorrow my secretary will send the fund to you. Then we find a time and come up to talk, how can I help your business to grow? So the next day I received the money, yeah. But I was too excited. When I sent him the email, I missed a zero. So I received 1 0 less, yeah, 100,000, yeah. And then I have to send another email to him and say, look, I was too excited, I missed a zero. Yeah, so send me another check. And he was like, okay, I'll get my secretary to do that, yeah. So we must remember, I don't know how many of you guys are doing fundraising, but remember, to raise money, I think, is always difficult, okay? The only easy time that I have ever seen during my lifetime is 2017 through ICO, but I think that time has gone, yeah. So even now, I try to raise, because sometimes I do advisory work for ICO and STO projects. Okay, for example, like the casino STO that I said, okay, like, I think it's still very important that who you know, because at that time, I was raising for this casino, I spoke to my friends, and then I tried to make it short, yeah. I actually knew someone who knew someone would be interested in investing in casino. So he introduced and I went there. It happens that this guy used to invest in Sun City, which is a large casino operator in Macau, okay? Of course, their background is, I think I can't say on stage, but their background is, you know.
Not so legal activities.
Yeah, okay, not so clean, okay. Will I get into trouble saying that here? Anyway, let's keep this off public here. So he knew how lucrative casino can be, but how to look for things that are very iffy when investing in casino. Yeah. So the guy actually told us, look, because your team was from X Sense, okay, you have a very good profile. I would like to underwrite the entire 100 million USD fundraising. And he said that he could do it within weeks. Okay, so like what I said, sometimes it depends on the kind of investors you approach, whether they are the right profile, and who you know, who can help you to make the connection. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. I know who to look for later for some connections. All right. Now we go back to that. I think there's some issues touched by a few of the panelists on, when to launch the project, whether the developers or the team members are responsible, or what are the reporting structure. So what do you think, the panelists, what do you think about the white paper and the promises? I think 2017, 2018, there were a lot of projects launched their ICO with white papers, roadmaps that have milestones in this year. So most of them have not delivered. I know Omisego promised a plasma-based DEX. Until today, I don't see any plasma or DEX or whatever it is. So what do you think? Do you think they should be responsible? Do you think they should be enforceable by law? What they wrote in white paper? Trang? I only have 5 minutes left, so let's make it quick.
Yeah, so I agree that nowadays we see many projects, they haven't delivered what they promised on their roadmap. So in my opinion, if it will be good if there is a kind of law to secure that what they wrote or their vision have been wrote in the white paper need to be delivered in the future, because the investor has believed on their project and have put on the money on their project. So there is no way that they cannot deliver what they have been promised. Back to the IEO and ICO, I think the IEO is one of the evolutionary step for ICO, because during the IEO, the exchange helping the investors somehow to choose or clarify which project is scam or which project is like not a scam. So I hope that during this IEO new model of the ICO, then we will see that there will be more projects can deliver what they promise in their white paper when they do the fundraising.
John?
I'll try and make a few quick points. So just to say, it's funny, if we get a security token framework and these are all done on IEOs, essentially we just have digital IPOs, and it's like the future is the past, or the past is the future, right? But it's more equitable than doing private placements, and that's why the IPO exists as it does. But the point I want to make on the regulations is, at the moment, SC and BNM are jointly working on the STO or ICO framework, whatever you want to call it. They have a problem because we have ECF and we have an ECF framework. We have an ECF market that's regulated and supported by the SC. And so what happens where they put, if you file for liquidation or bankruptcy, like, creditors, senior secured creditors get paid first, then your bondholders, et cetera, and down the line until, if there's any money left, then you hit common equity, right? What are the regulators going to decide? How does an STO fit into the capital structure? And how much are they going to allow us to raise? Because that's going to affect the ECF guys. The SC have, since they announced the RMO framework for ECF, right from the off, the ECF guys have the obligation to create a secondary market, which they haven't done. And obviously we're coming along with a secondary market and liquidity for tokens like that. And we know everything's going digital anyway. So what I'm saying is there's some sort of merger, or there are synergies between the ECF and the token space, and a lot of it will depend on where the regulators set the limits, the funding limits, and how much they want to enforce exactly what the question you asked, like the disclosure, the prospectus. Let's get away from white paper. Let's call it what it is. It's a prospectus. Let's have all the, that's if we're going to offer equity in these digital tokens. If we're not going to offer equity, then it's fine as it is, in my view. Let people raise as easy as they possibly can, and as long as investors know that they're not protected, then it's a funding for startups only, an ICO for me.
By the way, security token offering does not mean it is only for equities only. It has other forms. So just to add on to John's portion, some of the STOs do not step into the ECF space simply because the STOs are not equities themselves. All right, Jiawen?
Yeah, so I think, for this particular question, I'll take it nearer to home and talk about, how Consentium is managing, our token investors, or rather our token holders. I think fundraising is incredibly hard, and everyone knows that, and we know we've talked about it, but I would say that we work hard, like really hard during fundraising, and then we just went super bloody damn hard right after that. Like, it was 2 times the amount of work. And I think it's really about keeping your token holders updated and giving them the necessary information that they need to understand what they bought into. And as a project that's tapping on a token economy in order to access capital, if you look at the way that we've operated ever since 2018, we launched our app within a year. We did the partnerships that was necessary in order to expand our ecosystem. So Dash is an example of a partner that we're working with, and we took the time, we learned about our chain, we're integrating them in a week. Our Telegram group comes in 2 languages because we realized that a huge chunk of our investors are Chinese. So yeah, we created a channel necessary for them to understand what's happening. We got ourselves listed on top exchanges like BVNEX and Bitforex. And I think these are things that, it doesn't sound like rocket science, but yet a lot of projects fail to do that. And because of that, the price takes a beating, they become a scam, and, the token holders then regret on the investment. So I think, just to cut it short, I think from a project perspective, I don't think it has been incredibly hard trying to keep the market, sentiment positive. I think it's really being sincere in the vision that you're trying to create with blockchain and sticking to that.
I'll just take a quick one, all right? So the question was, what do we think about projects that fail to keep to the milestones outlined in the white paper, all right? Projects fail for all sorts of reasons, right? And for an example, you can look at the Tezos ICO. This happened some time back. Tezos was an ICO that raised about $230 million. Right? And there was a falling out between the foundation and the ICO team. So that whole thing led to a court case. Then the foundation chairman kicked out everybody from the foundation, appointed his own cronies in there. Sorry, at risk of defaming people. I take that back. So then there was a falling out, right? There are so many reasons why an ICO project doesn't come into its fulfillment of its promises. And for that reason, ICO is all about decentralization, right? Crypto space is all about decentralization. But ironically, for this thing to thrive, you do need a certain amount of centralization, right? You need a trustee to hold on to the funds, to disperse the funds as it comes, as the milestones are met. And that's in the consultation paper, one of the things. All right, I think, yeah, that's very important. All right, I'll pass the mic on because our time is running short.
Yeah, I'll keep it short, yeah. I think white paper is less important than the team and the pitch deck. Yeah, because right now, most blockchain projects, you have to go private placement. And to be honest, I see a lot of professional VCs and private equity, they don't have time to go through the white paper. So connection is more important to get you through the door, and then the pitch deck and your presentation and the team. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thanks.
All right, unfortunately the time is up. I still have a bunch of questions to ask, but it's all right. I think we'll be here for a little longer outside. If you guys have any questions regarding IEO, STO, ICOs, or you guys are looking to raise money through that platform, you can talk to any of us. We can give you some pointers. So with that, I would like to conclude this panel discussion. Thank you so much for being a lovely crowd. Thank you to panel members. Thank you so much. let's get together for a photo session.
One, two, three. So, okay, one more time, please.